And showtime! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the ChannelPro 5-Minute Roundup. Look at news, trends, and tips for the SMB channel in 5 minutes or thereabouts. My name is Rich Freeman. I am executive editor of the ChannelPro Network, also a co-host of this program. I am joined this week, as I am every week, by your other co-host, Eric Simpson, a business transformation and improvement advisor to MSPs and other IT providers. Eric, how you doing this post-Thanksgiving week?
I'm doing well this post-Thanksgiving week and first day of December as we record this today. Happy December, everyone.
Happy December to you and everyone in our audience as well. It seems like just yesterday it was, what, February?
Yeah, too soon.
But we are heading into the holidays, folks, but there's still stuff to talk about in the industry in the remaining months of 2022, and so let's dive right into our top story. Ironically, Eric, this concerns something that was announced in October when I was on vacation, but this is the first opportunity we've had to talk about it, and I think it's kind of an interesting milestone of where we're at in the cloud story right now. So the story in particular I want to talk about is the launch in October of a new product, the fourth product, basically from SkyKick. SkyKick is a born-in-the-cloud management company. They do data migration, they do cloud backup, they have a cloud management tool for managing systems like Microsoft 365. And now they have a cloud security management tool as well. It is called Security Manager. It is basically designed to assist MSPs with the increasingly overwhelming task of keeping up with all of the alerts headed their way. Even just this product is specific to Microsoft 365. And even if you restrict the cloud security challenge to that one platform, there's a lot going on, especially if you have a lot of customers and a lot of end users. And so here is a centralized console that's going to pull together information from across your client base in one place. There are workflows, remediation workflows, so you'll not only get alerted to the stuff that actually matters and that you need to pay attention to with a prioritized view. You have workflows out of the box that supposedly address thousands of different situations. One click, you can remediate whatever the problem is. If there is not a pre-existing workflow for a situation you want to deal with, there's a no-code interface for creating those. There's an interesting console that kind of helps you understand your customer's Microsoft security score and what you need to do to raise it. There are reports and so on. So a pretty robust tool for dealing with cloud security. And it's interesting, Eric, in a sense that the cloud security challenge has reached the point in the evolution of cloud computing that it really does need products that are 100% dedicated to it. Augment has had a product for a little while that they've updated this year. SkyKick now has a cloud security specific product. Jump Cloud has been doing that kind of thing for a while. We reached the point. Initially, it was just getting my customers into the cloud and getting the data over there and protecting that data. And then it was sort of being able to manage the different SaaS and infrastructure as a service tools they're using. Now, we've all known for a while, securing all that stuff is going to be a problem. And now finally, we're seeing tool vendors come along with a new generation of products that are really designed, like this one, to centralize, streamline, and simplify that, obviously critical task for MSPs and cloud service providers to perform.
Yeah, it's really interesting when you think back, Rich, and you and I were, we've been in the channel, for a minute, and remember the days when there was no cloud and everything was on-prem and moving like before the managed services movement, it was all on-site, typically reactive support. Maybe there was some proactive stuff that you'd show up to do, but it was very, very labor-intensive, on-premise focused work. Then we started shifting, in the, early 2000s to more of this remote support dynamic for delivering service as a managed service provider. And then we started seeing, the cloud coming up, CSP, and now we're, security as being bundled with it. And we're moving more of the focus and workload for the service provider way away from the on-prem before going from, let's say, 100% on-prem to now moving more and more into the cloud and starting to see the shift now and seeing 50, 60, 70% of the service that we provide as we migrate more of our clients' workloads and security to the cloud, moving in that direction. I'm just forecasting, Rich, 10 years into the future, it may be 90-10, right? Cloud versus on-prem. So it's just interesting to, be evaluating that at kind of this moment in time, this range in the last, call it 20 years. Just this rapid evolution, and allowing MSPs and channel pros really to refine their value proposition and reimagine it for today and tomorrow's buyers that are going to be primarily working in the cloud. So getting away from this, the days when we valued our service more of selling boxes and licenses, now to supporting cloud. And I remember, Rich, the heated conversations that we would have in the early days, partners being upset at, the change that they were being drugged through. We're going to lose, our value to the clients because, everything's going to the cloud and we won't have that value anymore. And I'm happy to say that, that didn't really come to pass. The folks that evolved along the way are doing much better than they did back in the old days. So, it's just an interesting, bird's eye view from where we're sitting.
And I think back just to the beginning of 2020 and, virtual events and webinars we were doing at ChannelPro. All of a sudden, like almost literally overnight, work from home is a thing. And cloud computing explodes, and our readers and viewers were familiar with Microsoft 365 or Office 365, but the challenges of securing stuff like that was all kind of brand new, and we did all sorts of stuff about helping people think through how to do that. It's a sign of the times, a step in the evolution of the cloud, that products that focus specifically on that. And helping people address that particular, not work from home necessarily, but cloud security. We're seeing the appearance of products like that now, and it's just another step in the evolution you're talking about, Eric, that goes way back to the early days of managed services when it was all very device focused.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what? You add cloud management or cloud security management to the services you're providing your customers, and if you don't make some adjustments to what you're charging those existing customers, it's probably going to eat into the bottom line. And Eric, that's hopefully going to set you up for your tip of the week.
It certainly does, Rich. Thanks for that. And yes, we're talking about truing up your pricing for your legacy clients. And, chances are, if you're an MSP or a channel pro out there that, has had clients for many years, I'll bet you've got a few clients that aren't paying what your current rates are. Now, I would classify these as legacy clients, Rich. And you know what? It's no secret how this happens, where we have this kind of disparity of pricing over the years. And, I've got a list of things that can contribute to this. Maybe when you started selling your services years ago with your oldest clients, your cost of doing business was lower than it is today when you signed them up. Could be one reason. Another reason might be your operational maturity wasn't then what it is now, and you underpriced your services. Maybe you haven't done a good job of raising your rates with these legacy clients over time. You've got a lot of cost-conscious C customers that makes it tough to have the raising your rate conversation, and so sometimes you just shy away from it. Maybe a big one here, Rich, is you've misjudged your legacy clients' alignment with your ideal client profile. Your ideal client profile being more strategic clients. And maybe at the beginning when you were, trying to sign up as many clients as you could to keep the lights on and things like that, you kind of knew that they didn't exactly align with your ideal client profile. Or maybe back then you were still trying to figure out what that ideal client profile was, right? or fill in the blank, right? There are all these different reasons why you may have a wide disparity from, in a legacy client's service rates than today's rates. And I've got partners that I work with, Rich, that haven't raised their rates for some of their legacy clients while they have with some of their other clients. I don't know why, for years. And so there may be a $40 to $50 gap in that rate. And so what can we do about it, right? What can we do about getting these legacy clients trued up? And it is probably the hardest thing that channel pros and MSPs have to do, is try to get that gap closed. Because when you're talking about, even $30 or $40 per user gap, which is what we're typically charging as an upcharge to bring security into the conversation and cloud security in the conversation, that's tough enough. But then when you try to get them up to parity with your current rates, that is a very difficult conversation. And, a couple of ways to do it that I work with partners through is, number one, understand that it took you a long time to get there. That gap didn't just happen yesterday. It took years sometimes to get there. So don't expect that you're going to try to close that gap, very, very quickly. So you may have to take, dare I say, a multi-year approach and increase your rates with those legacy clients, the ones that you've evaluated and say, yes, I want to keep these, because the other side of the conversation is, oh no, these are C customers that need to go away. So rather than try to raise their rates and be unsuccessful at it, I'm going to try to, bring on new A and B clients and exit them as quickly as possible, right? Because they're dragging your overall blended gross profit margin down, obviously, right? So maybe a multi-year approach that's a little bit more accelerated than what you do with newer clients, just to try to close that gap a little bit quicker. And again, you're playing a long game here, so have patience. It took you a while to get here. It'll take you a while to bring that to parity. Another thought would be to add some copy into your agreements that allow you to increase your rates, like writing your agreement that allow you to reevaluate your rates maybe on a biannual or annual basis to make any adjustments that may be required to overcome things outside of your control, right? The cost of doing business, finance, the cost of finance, the cost of inflation. So there are other little drivers that you can put in there and use that when your internal costs go up. So then right now your costs have gone up, right? Your costs of doing business have gone up. The cost of fuel has gone up. The cost of labor has gone up, right? There are all these factors. The cost of inflation has driven things up. The supply chain issue has caused prices to skyrocket for things that you used to purchase before. So just think about getting a strategy together, segmenting those legacy clients into the ones that you definitely want to keep because, hey, they're great clients. They're not very noisy, but they just aren't paying you enough. And you may be losing money on them, and put a plan in place to get them to parity over some period of time. And for the other ones, they're on your exit list. And as you bring on new clients, it's time to start exiting the old ones. Remember, we had a conversation recently, Rich, about making player trades to try to get to the championship, at the end of the year. And if you're a sports team, you're making trades. And, here in this conversation, those legacy customers or those C customers that you need to trade out are those players in order to get you to where you want to be. It's all about getting your blended margin as high as possible. And you've got to start taking action on a consistent basis. Look at this on a quarterly basis if you need to, and start reaching out to those legacy clients and making these changes.
It's very good advice, obviously, and it's one of those you can never get started too early kinds of things. If you have those legacy clients, you haven't adjusted their prices in a long time, now is absolutely the time to begin doing that. I would just say to anyone in the audience who's thinking, I don't love the sound of a multi-year step-by-step process to have to rectify the fact that I haven't raised rates on those legacy customers in a long time. The way to avoid that, now and into the future, basically, is to avoid the things that caused the problem in the first place. And a lot of the reasons you were citing, Eric, come down to two things, basically. And one of them is just, it's an awkward conversation to have with your customers. And the other is just not, building it into the agreement, building it into the rhythm of how you do business to raise rates with customers. So get more diligent, be more disciplined about keeping your rates in line with your expenses and your target profitability. Get past I totally get it, folks. It is an uncomfortable conversation to have. It's like, having a conversation with your boss about, I need a raise, kind of a thing. It's not an easy thing to do necessarily, but it is a necessary thing to do. And if you do it in a disciplined kind of way, you won't have to kind of think your way through the multi-year process you're talking about there, Eric.
Yeah, agreed. And, I tend to lean on the, ask forgiveness later rather than ask permission first, before you send out an email indicating, hey, we need to have a chat about, our rates and our costs are going up. So just, be very, very, clear and be candid with your clients. This is not, this is a conversation that you need to be a little bit vulnerable with your client in having, and let them know that, hey, I know that your costs have gone up, our costs have gone up too. We're in this together, right? And I know you want me to be around to continue to help you grow your business. So have that campfire talk approach to it, and just be very, very, very honest about why you need to do this. And if you haven't raised your rate in years, hey, bring that up. Say, hey, we've done a really good job. I'm not having to raise our rates. Probably should have thought about that differently before now, but now, we really have to do something and we need your help.
Okay, very good. Important stuff. Leaves us with time for just one more story, Eric. And we're just weeks away from an election recently. All sorts of great reasons why everybody who is eligible to vote in this country should vote every time there's an election. Here's another one. Particularly if you are single. The folks who run the dating app Tinder did a survey recently and found that 47% of singles say that finding out the person they're dating is a non-voter is a deal breaker, quote unquote. 53% said that knowing a potential match as a regular voter makes them more attractive. So folks, if being part of a representative democracy and a responsible citizen wasn't reason enough to vote when elections come around, and you're single, here's another reason you're going to be more appealing.
Yeah, that's a very interesting statistic, and great topic to bring up, because I know that there's a lot of divisiveness and things like that are going on in today's society. And if you go on to continue to read through the article, what was interesting was the very high percentage of positivity towards someone that doesn't even agree with your political views. Just as someone to have a conversation with struck me as really, really interesting as well, because you think, well, people tend to flock with their own kind, right? And so I'm going to go over with whoever my political leaning is. But this article really made me rethink that based on the statistics that they shared.
You can decide for yourself whether or not you believe this is for real, folks. But according to this Tinder survey, 46% of singles said that they would date someone with very different political views. And 58% said it's a deal breaker if a potential partner isn't open-minded on key issues. So maybe that's what people certainly wish to believe about themselves.
Are we evolving as a human race? That's
One
interesting.
hopes.
Yeah, let's hope so.
All right. Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us on the 5-Minute Roundup. That's all the time we've got this week. We're going to be back again next week with another episode. Until then, you know what? We are both a video and a podcast these days. So if you happen to be watching us on video, but you're into podcasts, go to wherever it is you get your podcasts, Google, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify. You're going to find us there. You can subscribe, you can rate, you can review. We would appreciate you doing all of those things. If you are listening to the podcast but curious to check us out on video, easiest thing to do is go to YouTube, look for the ChannelPro Network channel there, another opportunity to become a subscriber. And if you click the little bell icon, you can also get notified when new episodes of this program become available. To read more about SkyKick's new product, keep up with what's happening in cloud and security, get all sorts of great business growth advice for your company, you want to go to ChannelProNetwork.com every day, because we have got great new content for you there every day. To learn more about Eric and the work he does with his clients, please visit ErickSimpson.com. That's ERICK Simpson.com. Once again, we thank you very much for joining us on the 5-Minute Roundup. We're going to be back again next week. Until then, folks, please enjoy the rest of your week. Eric and I are enjoying the rest of your week already.